What's up, everybody? Welcome to the second installment of the Quarantine Chef Chronicles. I'm your host and chef, Jerry Saunders, also known as the Quarantine Chef. Today, we're going to cook one of my favorite dishes, gumbo. Why, you ask? Have you looked outside? Fall is here. The weather is more crisp, the temperature's dropping, the leaves are changing, and it's the perfect weather for something hearty to fill you right up. Now, let me just tell you a little bit about gumbo. It's a pretty old dish. It's originated around the 1700s in the Louisiana area, with origins thought to be stemming from Native American, French, Spanish, and even African backgrounds. In fact, the word gumbo is thought to originate from an African term, ogumbo, which means okra, which is one of the staple ingredients for making gumbo. But enough about that. Let's get cooking. Now, this is a pretty ingredient-laden recipe, so if you're paying attention, make sure you take notes here. Here's what all goes into this. So you need about 2 containers of seafood stock, the equivalent of 1 diced yellow onion, also the equivalent of a green pepper diced, about 1 pound of crab claw meat. Some people prefer fresh crab claws. I actually like the canned version because there's no need for me to deshell it, and it's already in an exact measured amount. If you want to go fresh, do it. If not, you can go with the can. In fact, you can do it. No pun intended. You're going to need some garlic powder. You're going to need your favorite Cajun seasoning. My favorite is Slap Your Mama. Now, I'm opposed to violence, but feel free to try to slap your mama, but if your mom's like mine, she's going to slap you back. An optional ingredient is pure ground gumbo filet. I found this find at a grocery store, and I haven't looked back since. You're going to need some bay leaves. You're going to need some flour, some onion powder, some shrimp and crab boil. My favorite is Zatarain's brand. You're going to need some canola oil. You're going to need some salt. You're going to need some minced garlic. This is optional, but I thought I'd add it just for a little kick. 1 habanero pepper with the top removed and the seeds taken out. You're going to need about 1 pound of okra. You're going to need a few sticks of celery, at least 2 to 3. And you're also going to need about 2 pounds of smoked sausage. I happened to find Johnsonville and Dewey recipe at the grocery store, and I thought I'd give it a shot. You're also going to need some seafood ingredients. Check out what we got over here. We got about 3 pounds of raw, peeled, deveined, and tail-off shrimp. And we also have some Dungeness crab clusters. This is not actually necessary, but I thought I'd just add it just because I like to go over the top with this. And seafood is something I really enjoy. So watch how we put all this together. It's going to be great. Now, your first step, and probably your most important step, is to make your roux. Any of my Raging Cajun friends down at the bottom of the map will tell you a roux will make or break your dish. A roux is basically a mixture of butter or some kind of vegetable oil with flour. This recipe calls for 1 cup of vegetable oil. I'm going to add it right here. It's already simmering because I already heated the pot up. Next, we're going to add a cup of flour. Now, you hear it's already sizzling. You need to really, really, really stir this well. Why? Because if you don't, it's going to end up burning. So one of the things you really need to do is to make sure that you continue to stir this and mix it in so that your flour doesn't burn in your oil and your roux doesn't taste burnt, because it'll change the whole taste of your entire gumbo. Now, the way this recipe goes, you could be stirring this anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour. I'm not sure how long this is going to take, so I'm going to fast forward and come back to you when the roux is done. You want to make sure your roux is somewhere around a chocolate consistency and thin and liquid. We'll be back. Just a little intermission here. Notice that it now looks like the consistency of oatmeal. Don't worry about it. Just keep stirring and give it some time. I promise you it's going to thin out and turn into a chocolate color, which is what you want. If you notice that your roux is starting to smell burned, turn your heat down. That means your heat is too high and you don't want to burn your roux, so turn it down and keep stirring. We'll be back. Notice now that this roux looks like a deep, dark chocolate color. It may look black to you on your screen, but it looks like dark chocolate here to me. So this means that it's ready. Now I turned my heat down because this cooked a little faster than I wanted to, and I need to keep stirring. But the next thing I'm gonna do is add my celery, my bell pepper, and my onion. Stay tuned. I got my celery, my bell pepper, and my onion added to my roux here. And now I'm just gonna keep stirring. It's a whole lot of stirring for this dish, but trust me, it's worth it. I'll be back. Just keep stirring, just keep stirring. I got my veggies covered in roux, which is a good thing. Some of the smells are already starting to come out, which is amazing. If you look over here, I got another pan. Now I use my ceramic pan here because I'm going to cook my sausage and okra in this. And the ceramic pan is great because it's non-stick and you can get up all of the little bits of burnt pieces because you want to put those into your gumbo too because that's extra flavor. Stay tuned. It's a beautiful sight. I got my roux and my veggies cooking and I got my andouille sausage browning. It's gonna really come together. The roux simmering, looking good. After about 5 minutes of cooking your veggies in your roux, you're gonna add your garlic. So you're probably noticing that the roux is thick and dark right now, but we're about to change the game. Enter 1 container of seafood stock. It's going to thin out your roux, and it's going to add additional flavor to your overall gumbo. Trust me, it's going to be good. Seafood stock going in. Just distribute that nice and evenly into your roux. And after that, you're gonna keep on stirring. Now, don't forget your sausage, because it's going in next. Now, this recipe calls for you to add a little bit of seafood stock to your sausage to break up all the burnt bits on the bottom. However, like I said before, I'm using my ceramic pan, so it's non-stick. There are no burnt bits. So I'm just gonna add the whole container to the sausage here. Got my seafood stock second container in the sausage mix here. I really wish you could smell what was happening in this kitchen right now. It's freaking amazing. Let's continue. So once we got our seafood stock mixed in with our sausage, we're going to stir this a little bit. Enter stir. Mixing this up. And what are we going to do next? You guessed it. We're going to add it right to our roux seafood stock mix. The magic is starting to happen. Boom. Right in there. Look, nothing stuck to the bottom. It's a wonderful pan. Let's press on. Now, if you look here in my pot, notice I've added a few things. This is the seasoning portion of the gumbo. I've added 1 teaspoon of salt. I've added 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. I've added another teaspoon of onion powder. And I've also added 4 cups of water, along with somewhere around 3 or 4 bay leaves. The other thing I added is Cajun seasoning, which, always enhances every meal. I use it quite a bit. Again, my favorite is Slap Your Mama. Feel free to try it at home, but if your mom is like my mom, don't actually try to slap your mama because you'll get hurt. So now we're just going to bring our mixture here to a boil, which I've turned the heat up on the stove, and we're just going to stir in all these good ingredients. The magic is starting to happen, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned. So the gumbo's reached a nice boil. At this point, we're going to turn it down to simmer, cover it, and let this bad boy go for about 2 hours. This is when the real magic happens. Now, while that simmer is happening for about 2 hours, you're going to do a couple of things. One, you want to prepare your shrimp with some of this Zatarain's seafood boil, and you also want to saute your okra, which is going to be, like I said, one of the base ingredients that goes in your gumbo. Follow me. I got my shrimp here in the sink. I use the colander, but you can use a bowl. The reason I use the colander to put my shrimp in is because they came from the store frozen, and I wanted to drain any excess water from the shrimp. Here's my Zatarain's shrimp and crab boil that I'm going to use, and I'm going to take about 1 cap to 1.5 cups full and just put it on top of the shrimp, and I'm going to mix that in with my hands. I'm getting my shrimpies nice and coated in that crab and seafood boil. That's going to add a whole lot of flavor to the shrimp, and it's going to make your gumbo taste perfect. Let's keep going, shall we? So I put my shrimpsises in the refrigerator. Yes, I said shrimpsises. I know it's not a real word, but trust me, I'm a chef. Ha ha ha. And the next thing I'm going to do is saute my okra here in this bowl. Going in this same pan I used before, we're going to use a little bit of canola oil and some of the leftover cooking grease from the sausage to saute the okra. You can already hear the sizzling, and that's love. We'll be back after the okra's browned. Boy, doesn't that look good? It's just getting this simmer on right now. My okra over here is pretty good and sauteed, so I'm just going to dump this right into the pot. Bombs away. And then you're just going to stir this in, and then it's going to continue to go for that total of 2 hours. At this point, I'm just going to let the pot do its thing and just relax and smell all the smells. Stay tuned. We'll be back once this thing is ready to add the seafood. Ha ha ha, just kidding. Welcome back to the rest of the gumbo video. We've now completed our 2-hour simmer. So next thing we're gonna do is add all of the delicious seafood and let it simmer for another 15 minutes, including this puppy right here. Check it out. Here is our pot of gumbo. And if you notice in the back, we got a little pot of rice going on here. It's done, ready to be served with your gumbo. So we're gonna take the lid off of this bad boy and just look at all that delicious simmering stew right there. So let's go ahead and add our seafood. First thing we're gonna do is add all these flavored shrimp into the gumbo. Bombs away. Boop. There you go. The next thing we're gonna do is add our 1 pound of crab claw meat. Going in there. Get in there. There we go. And lastly, we're going to add our crab claws and legs just for garnish. Again, that's an additional thing. You don't have to do it, but I'm a little bit over the top, so that's where I'm going with mine. And here goes nothing. Just look at all that. Just look. Boom. Right in there. Right into the stew. We're just going to give this a stir. Get it all mixed in there, because we want to get all that delicious gumbo flavor all over these crab legs, these shrimp, and that crab meat. Just going to break up the crab meat like that. And now that we got it mixed in, we're going to let it simmer for another 15 minutes. If you notice this right here, that's my habanero pepper. I added that just for a little kick. Again, remember, that's optional, but I like it spicy. So if you like it like me, feel free to add you a little habanero in there. We'll be back once this thing is simmered, and we'll be done. Stay tuned. And last but not least, I'm going to turn my heat off, and I'm going to add a generous portion of Zatarain's pure ground gumbo filet. Now, this is basically just ground up sassafras leaves, which actually is something that comes from Native American tradition. I use it because it thickens up your gumbo, and it also enhances the flavor profile. So I'm just going to do a little sprinkle. Just to get a nice even layer in my gumbo. And then back to stirring. Look at all that seafood gold in there. We got some crab, we got some shrimp, we got sausage, we got okra, we got celery, we got bell pepper. It's a flavor delight. I share it with you, but you're not here. Sorry, maybe next time. Well, we're all done here. I don't know what y'all gonna do, but I'm about to eat. Until then, this is the Quarantine Chef signing off. Thank y'all for tuning in for episode 2 of the Quarantine Chef Chronicles. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.